The Pakistan UN Permanent Mission and Pakistan Consulate, New York, jointly hosted Youm E Istahsal Kashmir, a New York mission. A number of Pakistani American Community, Kashmiri Community, media, foreign diplomats largely participated in the event. Retired General Abdul Kahn from Muslim League Nawaz Group was the guest of honor. The panel spoke bluntly and loudly on Indian atrocities and cruelty in Indian occupied Kashmir. They also showed their concern on Kashmiri unbroken resolve, resisting occupation, and demanded freedom. This day, India forcefully revoked special status of Kashmir, imposed restrictions, denied basic human rights, blocked and cut innocent Kashmiris from the rest of the civilized world. The event started with recitation of Holy Quran. A video was also displayed and participants witnessed Indian act of cruelty and bloody images of the helpless Kashmiris were also displayed. Viewers, let's watch and listen what respected panel said.
Aimed at consolidating its occupation of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and imposing what its leadership has called the final solution for Kashmir. As a part of the final solution, the Indian government is imposing demographic change in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir in violation of Security Council resolutions, international law, and 4th Geneva Convention. Since 2019, human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings, enforced disappearances, arbitrary detentions, sexual violence, and restriction on freedom of expression have accelerated. However, 5 years later, the Indian government has been unable to break the resolve of Kashmiri people, and the freedom struggle lives on.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Indian government's actions aimed at demographic changes in Jammu and Kashmir are a clear attempt to alter the region's Muslim majority character. Issuing over 4.2 million domicile certificates to the non-Kashmiris, seizing land and allowing non-Kashmiris to buy property and register to vote are all part of a settler colonial project that is a violation of the 4th Geneva Convention and the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions on the theme. This project aims to disempower and disenfranchise the Kashmiri people, and it constitutes a war crime under the international law. Today, we must also remember the significant role of the United Nations and the international community in resolving the Kashmir conflict. The Security Council has since 1948 recognized the right of the Kashmiri people to determine their own future through a of free and impartial territory. Yet, these resolutions have not been implemented due to India's obstinate, persistent, and one-sided non-compliance.
This is a special but somber occasion for us. 5 years, 5th anniversary of India's attempt to annex Kashmir. Over these 5 years, the permanent mission of Pakistan and our delegation here at the United Nations have made unrelenting efforts to raise the issue of Kashmir in the Security Council, in the General Assembly, in the Human Rights Council, and all other international gatherings which have relevance to the rights and fundamental freedoms of the Kashmir. The Secretary General of the United Nations on 8th August 2019 declared that the solution to Kashmir will have to be based on the UN Charter, the United Nations resolutions, and bilateral agreements. And this is a fundamental plank, a platform, on the basis of which Pakistan has been able to propagate the legitimate rights of the Kashmiri people, especially in the post-5 August period. Dear brothers and sisters, today I have delivered a letter from Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister to the President of the Security Council and the President of the General Assembly and the UN Secretary General. The letter lists 6 conclusions regarding the present situation in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Dear brothers and sisters, action will be taken by Pakistan and will continue to be taken by Pakistan in the United Nations and other international fora, especially as we enter the Security Council on the beginning of next year. We will be guided by the framework for the Kashmir situation that has been set out in the Foreign Minister's letter to the President of the Security Council. We are further reinforced in our position by the recent advisory opinion issued by the International Court of Justice in the case of Palestine. It is important for us to see the similarities of the principles that were outlined in the advisory opinion and their application to Jammu and Kashmir. This advisory opinion stated, firstly, that foreign occupation violates the UN Charter principles of self-determination and non-acquisition of territory by the use of force.
Israel did in Palestine. Since 1993, more than 600,000 Israelis, they have settled in Palestine, in West Bank. And the irony is, it took Israel 30 years for the settlement of 600,000 Israelis. It took Narendra Modi, the butcher. It is not what I am saying, it is the State Department saying you are guilty of crimes against humanity. It took him only 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, to issue 4.3 million domicile certificates to non-Kashmiris, to Indians, to settle in Kashmir, again for the same purpose, to change the demography of Kashmir. The people of Kashmir, they have been facing different tragedies. Educational degradation, cultural assassination, economic exploitation, military occupation. But unfortunately, the latest phase is totally different. The latest phase is de-Islamization of Kashmir. I do not know if you know, but every single soul knows in the region of South Asia the name of Dr. Muhammad Iqbal, the poet of the East. In fact, I was in Dakar, Senegal, in the Islamic Summit in 1991. President Rafsanjani, he quoted his speech from the poetry of Allama Iqbal. He said, Iqbal Lahori. You can't teach Iqbal in Kashmir now anymore. You can't teach the modern Islamic thought of Iqbal in Kashmir anymore. We are honored to be Muslims. The person who gave us this gift of Kashmir is Sayyid Ali Hamdani Amir Kabir, who gave us this gift 700 years ago. You can't say Sayyid Ali Hamdani anymore. Who killed Mahatma Gandhi? It is no more in the curriculum, ladies and gentlemen. He is the symbol of non-violence. Why no mention of who killed Mahatma Gandhi? Because he was killed by RSS. And what is RSS? Is the ruling party of India today, ladies and gentlemen. No mention what happened in Gujarat.
Much. Thank you, Ambassador Akram, for inviting me to talk about this issue, which is very dear to my heart, because I always see that there is a double wound in the heart of the Muslim nations. Both wounds still bleeding for the last 76 years, Palestine and Kashmir. In fact, both issues came to the center stage at the same time. In October 1947, the Maharaja Hari Singh signed Kashmir to the Indian government. And just a month later, the partition plan, Resolution 181, was adopted in the General Assembly, partitioning Palestine, giving 56% of the country to the 30% of the population who are almost all immigrants coming from overseas. The Pakistani ambassador at the time, I think his name is Sayyid Hussein, he said, he addressed the General Assembly, he said, by this resolution, you have opened a chapter of conflict that we know that today this is the beginning, but we will never know the end. And as you see now, what's going on in Gaza and what's going on in Kashmir, the same. Although the massacres and the atrocities and the genocide committed in Gaza is all over the place, similar genocide is taking place in Kashmir, but hardly visible in the world area. And it's not as publicized as the war in Gaza. But it's the same. Both conflicts were a product of the British colonialism. Wherever the British went, they left the trouble behind them. Divide and rule. Look at Cyprus. Look at many parts of the world where the English went and they leave their traces behind for conflict to come years and years after. So, the conflict started in 1947-48 in both. In fact, the United Nations established two observer groups at the same time. UNSO, to observe the truth in Palestine, it's called UNSO, still functioning. It started in 1948. And UNMOGEB, which started, say, January 1949, the first group arrived in the demarcation line or the separation line between Kashmir, Azad Kashmir, and occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And still, the two groups are still functioning. And you see, I always call them the twin issues, or the twin ones, exactly the same. So the conflict, as you know, there was 3 wars between Pakistan and India, 1947-48, 1965, and 1999. And on the other side, there were many wars, 1956, 1967, 1973, 1982, 2006, and in Gaza in the last for 17 years, there are at least 6 wars, from 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014, 2018-19 during the marches of return, 2021, and as we see now. And both, they have the same mentality of the final solution. We're going to crush them, we're going to kill them, we're going to destroy them. And I want to give each other some advices. I don't think the Security Council do anything for the issue of Kashmir. The last meeting happened, and a close consultation was August 16, 2016, and nothing came out of it. And the same, because there is some member of the Security Council, permanent member, will prevent any real decision or any move from the Security Council, and we all know it. And I'm looking forward for the 2 years when I see Pakistan as an elected member of the Security Council, and I'm sure this issue will come back. But we should not expect much more from the Security Council. I strongly recommend, as my brother said about the ICJ, Resolution 91, which was adopted in 1951. It refers the issue of Jammu and Kashmir to the ICJ. It was, of course, it was not implemented, but there is a Security Council resolution 91 to refer the issue of Jammu and Kashmir to the ICJ. We should, I mean, everyone should, or the powerful country, Pakistan, should move in that direction about the ICJ medicine. Second, I'd like to see more of journalists invited to Pakistan and go see what's happening in Kashmir. In fact, I suggested that to my brother a few years ago, and we were planning, and it didn't work because of the COVID-19. And I went with a group of journalists to the Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan, and we were really amazed, and we were impressed by the construction after it was liberated. We saw also the good work of the Turkish companies there, rebuilding Nagorno-Karabakh, and we could do the same. The other, I like to see all Pakistani embassies and missions working day in and day night and day out on the issue of Kashmir. We should do more. We should do more activities. Bring some victims from occupied Jammu and Kashmir and let them do talking tours everywhere. Let people see and talk to them and ask them questions and see what's going on. Produce more documentary like this. More documents, spread them out, let people put them on Netflix. So people, there is not much knowledge about the issue of Kashmir. I brought 5 students from Rutgers University. I asked them how much you know about Kashmir. Few of them know about Kashmir. Why? I mean, they're lucky that I bring these issues to them. I teach about Middle East and conflict and political science. So, OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, it's not doing much on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. Let me count the countries who spoke and mentioned Kashmir in the General Assembly. It is Azerbaijan, Iran, Malaysia, Maldives, Qatar, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and another country mentioned that, but it's still Pakistani, which is United Arab Emirates. I'm sorry to say that. They gave the highest honor medal to Prime Minister in 2019. It was, Pakistan was very annoyed. The foreign minister went to Pakistan to calm things down, but it didn't.
Your Excellency, Master of Your Excellencies, distinguished invitees. It's good that I'm speaking immediately after the last speaker to actually also give an expose of what OIC has been doing on the issue of Jammu and Kashmir. I will just start by saying it's a distinct honor for me to address this gathering on the occasion of the 5th anniversary of India's illegal and unilateral action of 5th August 2019 in India-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. This occasion presents an excellent opportunity to express our solidarity with the people of India-occupied Jammu and Kashmir in their long-standing just struggle for the realization of the fundamental human rights to self-determination in line with international law and resolutions of the United Nations. Based on the time-honored support for the cause of peoples under foreign or colonial domination, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation identifies greatly with the theme of today's event, which is Kashmir's unbroken resolve, resisting occupation, demanding freedom. There's no doubt that the United Nations has been seized of the question of Jammu and Kashmir since Security Council Resolution 47 of 21st April 1948.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Honorable Ambassador Munir Akram Sahab, Ambassadors, Honorable Ambassador Hamid from OIC, a Special Observer in United Nations, Ambassadors, Dr. Sahab, Fatina Hazrat. It indeed is a great honor and a privilege to share my humble views at this forum. I 100% agree with what our Honorable Ambassador Munir Akram has said, because that is not only the viewpoint of the government of Pakistan, it's the viewpoint of the entire Pakistani nation. And therefore, he has put it in a very focused form, and that is our stand. Many things have been said, and I will not like to repeat what atrocities are being committed. I am sure people are aware. But what I would like to say is that at the beginning of 20th century, there were conflicts which culminated finally into First World War in 1914. And in that war, there were casualties close to about 17 to 18 million people were butchered. And as a result of that, the need was felt that we must have peace in the world. And therefore, it was decided that we should have League of Nations, so that it helps in conflict resolution and maintain peace. But unfortunately, League of Nations was also ineffective, and Lenin called it as a thieves' kitchen, and finally Second World War took place. And in that you saw that about 70 to 80 million people were killed. Let us obey the resolution. Let us ensure that those resolutions are obeyed. So after having said that, I will not take much time because limited time is given. This is such a subject, Palestine and Kashmir, that on that you can speak for hours and hours. Palestinians are being subjected to unprecedented genocide. And you know what is happening. We are seeing children being slaughtered, women being killed, old people have lost their lives and so on. But where is the world conscious? No. Because we have our strategic priorities, we have our interests, and we have different standards. This is how the world peace cannot be maintained. But at the end, I can assure you that I am an ex-serviceman now, and I am the president of ex-serviceman society, Pakistan Ex-Serviceman Society, in which we have about 3 to 4 million ex-servicemen. On their behalf, and on behalf of all the Pakistan civil societies, and even part of the on behalf of the government and the army, I can assure you Pakistan stands firm with Kashmiris and with the Palestinians. Because for the Palestinians also, our founding father Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah had said that there is no question, we will go by the, when somebody asked Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, what will be your fundamental 4 objectives of your foreign policy? He said, number 1, we would like to have friendship with all countries, especially neighbors. Number 2, he said, we have no aggressive designs against any country. Number 3, he said that we will stand with all oppressed and suppressed nations, not Muslims only, any oppressed and suppressed nations, because United Nations Charter says that we will stand with them. And lastly, that we will obey the UN Charter. I am sure today those objectives are the same. We are following them and we will continue following them. We condemn what Modi is doing in Kashmir, and we are determined that this will lead to India's own disintegration, because by force and by the barrel of the gun, you cannot suppress the people, and one day the justice will prevail and the Kashmiris will have their right of self-determination.